Have you ever considered the fact that when we became Christians that we became slaves? Romans 6 verse 16. Do you not know that to whom you present yourselves slaves to obey, you are that one slave whom you obey, whether of sin leading to death or of obedience leading to righteousness? But God bethink that though you were slaves of sin, yet you obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine to which you were delivered. And having been set free from sin, you became slaves of righteousness. Please notice Strong's definition of our word slave. A slave, bondman of servile condition. A slave, metaphorically, one who gives himself up to another's will. Those whose service is used by Christ in extending and advancing His cause among men, devoted to another to the disregard of one's own interest, a servant, attendant. This tells us how much we should be willing to give of ourselves to God. We were bought at a high price, and we are to be slaves of righteousness because we belong to God. Sometimes I think we forget that when we became Christians, we became slaves. Being a slave is not always an ugly word, because when we are slaves of God, it means that we are His sons or His daughters, and it means that we are under His protection. Jesus did the same thing when He came to this earth. He emptied Himself and He turned Himself over to the Father. Everything He said, everything He did was of the will of the Father. Why? Because He came to serve and not be served. So as we follow the example of Christ, we should be able to see that we no longer live for ourselves. We live for God because He is our master and we are His slaves.